The Scoop on Poop. How does that sound familiar? Please join me in welcoming Katrina Kelly.
You probably don't think that much about your gut. And you probably don't think that much about your poop. You don't have to. You don't have to. The process happens without you having to think about it. You eat food, digestion happens, there's waste involved. But your gut, your poop, and the microorganisms that live within it are incredibly important and fascinating. They're fascinating to me. Now, maybe you feel it's kind of icky and disgusting, but after we talk about it, you're going to look at it a little differently. Now, this is something you may have seen. Hopefully everybody can see it. In your doctor's office. Maybe you learned about this in school, or maybe you've seen a Pepto-Bismol commercial. The process as we learn it is you put food in your mouth. There's a garbage disposal thing that happens. Some digestive enzymes. There's some fancy plumbing. And then there's waste that happens. It's simple, right? It's very simple. You know, the nutrition goes into your cells, of course. And that's it. And I think I made my time. Right? No, it's not that simple. It's actually quite complex. See, they forgot about that part in medical school. This is where the magic happens. The colon. And not just the colon, but the microbiome. That's a word I want you to remember, the microbiome. So differently than this looks, I drew this picture. These are not undigested jelly beans. The microbiome, what is it? The microbiome is a collection of teeny tiny microscopic organisms that we have a symbiotic relationship with. We need them and they need us. They are bacteria, viruses, fungi, yeast. They are mostly good actors, but some bad actors. See, we learned that bacteria and viruses are bad, right? You know, the 5-second rule where you get something on the floor, you know, to avoid the bacteria. We could not have evolved if it weren't for viruses and bacteria. These bacteria compose a great deal of who we are. 90% of our body is the microbiome. It lives outside of us and inside of us. 10% of us is us. 10% of our cells are human cells. I don't know about you, but I think it's a little scary. What does the microbiome do? Well, the microbiome is incredibly important to our functioning. There are things that it does that we cannot do on our own. The microbiome has an intimate and profound connection to our entire body. The microbiome is involved in our metabolism. It's involved in most of our immune system, the formation of hormones, neurotransmitters. And when the microbiome is out of whack, disease can occur. So what happens when that's out of whack? You can develop obesity, diabetes, colon cancer, depression, anxiety, cardiovascular disease. You may ask, what should I do about that then? What should I do differently if I know that the microbiome is so important to what is going on? Well, there's some things that we have no control over. One, genetics, what I call the genetic lottery, which is what your mom and dad gave you. that's written in stone, right? Environmental toxins, you may have some impact on that, and there are things that we have no impact on. Finally, there is what we stick in our mouth. And that is one of the strongest influences on the microbiome. What do the microbiome like to eat? Well, there's a gold mine for them with the undigested starches that end up in our gut, as well as the fiber. So the things they like to eat are vegetables and fruit of varied colors. They like fermented items, and they also like grains that offer fiber, whole grains. What they don't like are antibiotics, because although antibiotics can be life-saving, they not only knock out the bad bacteria, but they knock out the good bacteria too, which can be restored later, but try to avoid unnecessary antibiotics. The other things they don't like: toxins in our environment, artificial sweeteners, processed foods. So try to do right by your microbiome. Those foods that I talked about, we call those prebiotics. Probiotics are supplements that you can take that reestablish the bacteria in your gut. Usually they're capsules. And finally, there's something called fecal transplant. I know that sounds weird, but it's actually been used as a therapy very successfully. So you take someone's stool, their poop, that has good bacteria, and you transfer it to someone who has disease, who needs that, and you can get a cure from that. It's amazing. So let's face it, the microbiome is complex, and in 5 minutes, it's hard to address all the amazing things that it does. But I hope that you've gained an appreciation for your gut, your poop, the organisms that live within it. And remember, there are more of them than there are of us. So treat your microbiome well, and it's going to reward you with good health. Thank you.